5.
5. Let's give her a round of applause.
Yeah.
Very good. Out of those 5, what do you feel like you need to work on? I mean, out of those 5, what are you most proud of?
My self-confidence and
Conviction, yeah.
my
And determination.
Yeah.
All right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah.
And the ones that are off track, what do you feel like you need to work on?
My plans, my goals, and dreams.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. This is the right place. Okay, everybody. So your homework assignment on this sheet right here is to fill out this questionnaire, the self-test analysis. Also, I want you to read this really cool story on the comeback that will help you get back on track, and also to do your questionnaire review right here off to the right that sums up all of the material that you have that we have gone over this seminar. I would like to personally thank each and every one of you for sharing and being honest with all of us today. You know, it really makes a difference in your life individually and as a group. When we share what's happening in the group together, we become stronger, and that's why we're here. We're here to become stronger. So like when Pat goes to sleep, or when Tom goes to sleep, or when I go to sleep tonight, I'm going to realize that you are making that commitment to never do ice again. So I'm holding that in my mind. That's what we share in our group together. So I would like to thank all of you for your participation today. You read very well and also participated very nicely with all of us today. So we're going to congratulate all of you guys for that. Good job. Good job. Okay, so don't forget to do your homework, and I will be back next month for the lesson number. This is lesson number 4 of 9. We're going to be doing 5 of 9, so we've already done 4 out of the 9 lessons. So number 5 is going to be Live Your Life Inspired, and we're going to follow Michelangelo's bio, and we're going to start tapping into your inspiration, imagination, and creation. So with all of that being said, we're wrapping this seminar up. I'm going to be handing this over to Mr. Tom Carroll, one of the greatest surfers that has ever lived. He's going to now share with you his story. And I would like to give undivided attention to Mr. Tom. Thank you so much, Tom.
Yeah, thanks.
So glad to have you here. Thanks again, mate.
It's a pleasure.
All right.
Oh, look, it's been really humbling, kind of, just being a part of this today. Thanks, Seth, for having me around. And you guys, wow, what a way to, kick off life, and actually how blessed you are just to be here and have this opportunity. I think, one thing that comes up for me is that, I certainly, as an addict in recovery myself, that I didn't, sort of put my hand up when I was your age and go, I want to be an addict, I want to be a drug addict, I didn't go, I want to be that guy. I wanted to be a world champion surfer. But I didn't know, it took me a while to get there. It just took time. But I didn't know what I was going to come up against. And I didn't know what was going on. But just to go backtrack to where I started from, and a couple of events in my life that took place that affected me deeply. And there was one in particular which was really extraordinary. I lost my mother when I was 7 years of age, and I remember her clearly. But I watched her slowly pass away through cancer, and I didn't know. My brain was quite young. I was only 6 at the time. I went to a hospital through that year each weekend to go and visit her, and it all slowly happened before me. I couldn't comprehend what was going on at that time. So, but the one thing that she did give me, which is quite extraordinary, that I didn't really wake up to, this incredible gift that she really gave me until quite a way down the track. until I was in recovery, until I really saw the world and woke up. And that was that on her last Christmas, and it was a gift that she gave me when I was just about to turn 7, and just turned 7, I should say, and it was her last Christmas in our world, and she produced a surfboard from underneath the bed to give to me. So whether I like it or not, whether I felt like I lost my mother at that point or not, I woke up to the fact that she gave me this gift that held me from that point to now, which is extraordinary. Like, for me to actually open up to that, it took a long time, and I hope today that we can sort of see the gift that's before us now and wake up to how beautiful life is whilst we're in recovery. But it took me a long time. It took me the path, the surfboard, this to deal with my mother's death. I guess my loss of my mother, the loss. I went out in the surf and I found that there was the ocean, and the ocean held me, and so it was called Mother Ocean. I found out Mother Nature, Mother Ocean. I felt held in the ocean. So I spent a lot of time with the ocean and on a surfboard. That got me really, really good at surfing. And I was so lucky that I actually grew up on the northern beaches of Sydney, where I was. I was lucky. I had an older sister and an older brother. I still have my older brother with me. I ended up losing my older sister in a car accident later down the track. But as life happens, that was a great loss. And but one thing along the path, I had this sort of talent that was given to me, and I just it was given to me, and it kept giving to me constantly throughout my life. I would have to say, like I have a very competitive older brother. He was probably the most competitive person I've ever met. He used to compete to get through the doorway, to compete for this, want to play me at everything, beat me at everything. So, but I would say he was a competitive person 24/7. Now, I'm not a competitive person 24/7, and it sounds strange coming from someone to become a world champion, but I had to be prodded. I had to be poked. I think I was sort of a daydreamer by nature. In fact, I found my old school reports when I was moving a couple of years back. I found my old school reports from when I was like, in I guess preparatory school, you call it here. I was 9, 10, 11, and it said Tom is given to daydreaming. His head was, I'm always outside. I'm gazing. Even my partner today, Mary over here, will say that he's a daydreamer, and I'm totally distracted, like old mate here, totally distracted most of the time. Okay, and that's what that's all my school teachers were saying. You're a distraction. But when I applied myself, things worked in my favour, and I did really, really well with them. And that's what came to play with surfing for me. And I'm lucky, I tell you, that I don't know what it is up there, but something has been looking after me from the get-go, and I didn't want to see it. Especially when it came to the downside of my career. So there's always an upside, when we're moving on up, and in surfing competition, not where I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, it was a pretty cruel world. You're pretty much left on your own, make it up as you go, figure it out on your own. And that's how it was, huh, Pat? It was pretty much get out there and just do it. And I came over to here, Hawaii, to start competing when I was 16, and I just loved it. Hawaii has become kind of my second home. And so luckily, that was a dream of mine to do really, really well here. And it was a proving ground. Along the way, I didn't know that I was, I just wanted to get out. I was having fun. And along the way, I got introduced to drugs, like we all do. We get introduced to stuff along the way. I particularly myself, I was a very sensitive young kid. I wasn't given to this sort of confidence that I have now. It took me a long time to develop it, but I was also super shy with the girls, and I wanted to be accepted by the group. I wanted to be accepted by the crew. I wanted to be with. I just wanted to be accepted, and so I sought that acceptance through being involved in. I didn't like drinking, but I drank. I just didn't like the feeling of being out of control. In fact, I didn't feel like I'd just be sick, and there was drugs involved too, smoking pot, and eventually when I became 18, when I was 18, I was introduced to cocaine here in Hawaii, in fact. So along the way, I started. I didn't really like pot. I didn't really like drinking, but as soon as I hit something that made me help me engage properly with you guys, it was on. It just hit me, and it hit me right. It just helped me get above the line, because I always felt like, even though I wasn't, that I was below the line, that I needed to be more. So as soon as I felt that feeling of being above the line, I was on. So even though it was an underlying message coming underneath me, and I was on the path, and I'd already been a world champion by the time I felt that feeling of being addicted, and feeling that there was maybe something wrong here, that surfing, it started to get in my way. And along the way, I got derailed. I came off track, it was like, and I'd come off track, and I'd gather myself together, and I'd put myself back on track by doing specific actions, dropping the use of drugs. I'd try to get control of it by willfully dropping the use of drugs, and I'd put myself back on track. I'd get better results. And you could see, as soon as I dropped the use of drugs, my results would start getting better. And then I'd get satisfied. Then I'd get cocky, and my ego would take control. And then I'd think, I've got this. And then I'd feel, it's time to go again. And that's just how it went. I went up on a roller coaster like this until I found ice. I found ice in 2001. It found me, and I found it, and that just hit the mark. And I don't know who's done it here before, but this stuff just sort of hit the mark for me. And so, and it was pretty much a slow spiral downhill from there. It brought me to my knees. But so in 2006. After many battles in the sport, especially dragging 3 beautiful children along with me, and my wife, my ex-wife, it turned out that I needed to come into recovery. And recovery, I didn't know it, but I wanted recovery. That time, in 2006, was some of the darkest moments in my life. And I had a real struggle on my hands, and I think it's by the grace of a loving God. I couldn't have said that before but my experience with coming into recovery, I needed to do treatment, but I started off with the 12-step program and did meetings. I didn't know that I could actually reach out for help around this stuff. I had a lot of masks between you and me, and therefore I was incongruent. If I don't know whether you guys know what that means, incongruent, I was not congruent with the things within me with you. And I understood that, and I came to learn that in treatment. And I spent 6 weeks in treatment over the Christmas of 2006, 2007 New Year. And thank God that I've been able to stay, and I got to see and got to have an awakening, a spiritual awakening in that process. And from December 18 to this point, I haven't had to use since. But I've stuck with my program of recovery, and life has just improved. I can't. And if you had said, like, well, if I had all these, I just want to get, I just want to be clean for a year, I just, want to be clean for a week, and then it got down, I just want to be clean for a day. It got that bad for me, and I lost my surfing. I could hardly paddle out in the water. My physical self, it hurt. I never felt so toxic in my life, and I saw my daughters, in fact, as someone who was in the way of my using, which made me feel terrible. So my self-esteem was super low. I was at the lowest point in my life. But from that treatment point, I started committing myself to, and that we talk about commitment in this program, and I think that's really, really important word, commitment. Commitment to our life, commitment to the people around us that love us, and beyond that to help others. And I think that's been my path since. And staying with program recovery, it's given me back my surfing, it's given me back my physical self. I feel strong again. I felt so weak, there was nothing in me at all. It's given me back most importantly, my sense of love. So that sense of love for myself and for others around me, you guys, Pat, Seth, my partner, and my kids, my beautiful daughters. That's what recovery's allowed me to feel. First of all, that relationship with me had to be forged, and that's how it helped me. Coming into recovery, staying close to the people that, I got rid of all my contacts. That was my first thing, was stay away from those contacts that drag us back. Because those people, I realised, were not my friends. They it's kind of in a fantasy around it, that maybe these people were my cool friends, and some of them, kind of made out all this stuff and did all this cool stuff, but at the end of the day, when I came back and I was clean and I was sober, they weren't there. The good people came out. The good people in my life appeared, and the real teachers came along. And that's where I was able to get guided along on this path of life. And what I found was my willfulness was the one thing that kept me stuck in there. My willingness to learn, my willingness and honesty and open-mindedness, those three spiritual principles are what keep me here today. And and you guys do too. It's awesome to see you guys. Awesome to be able to share my journey. Yeah, and when I'm at home, I'm there with especially my 13-year-old daughter. She's been an amazing part of my life since coming to recovery. She's been extraordinary. I think initially I came into recovery for my daughters and for her, but then I woke up to that I want to do it for myself. But so being a father's a big job for me. I really take that seriously. Yeah.
How long did it take you to actually have the nerve to go start to do pipeline and stuff?
That's really incremental. You can't jump into anything in life that's really amazing. It starts really small. It starts from this point that's so small that it almost goes unnoticeable to those who are seeing the big deal, right? It starts really tiny, little actions, little small actions like paddling out and dreaming. Those dreams and goals, that dream and goal point, that starts there, this little thing you just start working, and it started from the day I started surfing. And I started surfing when I was 7. And then I start seeing photographs, I start dreaming, I start seeing movies, I start seeing my favourite surfers, and I start where they're surfing pipeline. I start studying that wave with all that I've got, and then I start putting myself in. Somehow, 16 years of age, I find myself paddling out there reluctantly. My first day surfing pipeline, it was 10 feet, and it was riding the biggest board I've ever ridden, and I'm shitting myself. I'm literally I am so scared, and this guy's going, yeah, threw me the wax your board up, Tom, we're going out. I'm on the beach, I go, all my heroes are out there. you know, out in the water. And this is like 1978, December 1978. I'll never forget it. I've got a paddle out there, and it looked like I couldn't paddle out there. There's these currents and crazy stuff going on everywhere. And you had to use everything I had to get out and line up. Now, I just sat off to the side there. I took my time. This is talking about small steps. Everything's got to be done in baby steps. Okay, whatever you want, whatever goal you want, you can make it as grand as you want, but you're going to make little goals along the way to get there. And this is one of those just to get out, to paddle out a pipeline. Took that person with that wax, to throw that wax out to me on the beach. And then, okay, one little scrape of wax at a time. Think about it, okay, and then get down to the shore, jump in the water, and get taken out by that current. Now I just worked my way out. A lot of experience with working with the ocean got me into that position. So that was probably, what, 7 years of age to 16 years of age. You do the math, 9 years. So it took a while, you know, a lot of time and effort. But to take off my first wave at Pipeline, I had to have that. I couldn't just sort of jump out there. You might be able to make a shortcut by getting some really good tutors or teachers, but I suggest any goal you go for, just like that. And then become a pipeline master. You know, that was 1978, so 1987 was my first pipeline masters win.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
so it takes
scary.
a while.
Let's give Tom Carroll a round of applause, everybody. Thank you so
Thanks for
much.
being here, guys.
Thank you so much.
And all the best with your goals and
Yeah.
all those little things. This is an amazing little program that you put together, Seth.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really happy to have you here, and the kids are really inspired as well. So thanks again, Tom and Pat, everybody.
Thanks, Pat.
Okay.
Thanks for being here.
All right.